bullet time, really awesome kung fu scenes, Neo, Agent Smith, philosophy. This is what comes to mind when we hear the phrase, The Matrix. For those that don't know or haven't watched the movie, The Matrix is a computer-simulated dream world used by intelligent machines to keep the human race under control while they harvest our body heat for energy. Ever since we were introduced to The Matrix, we have been questioning our own existence. Could we have bullet time? Could we all be digital superheroes? And most of all, do we live in the Matrix? What's more surprising though, is that philosophy may have an answer to that question. The concept behind the Matrix is not new. In fact, the idea is more than 2,000 years old, first suggested by Plato in his Allegory of the Cave. Because prisoners are only shown shadows of objects throughout their entire lives, they are denied the possibility of seeing the real world. The idea has also been suggested by a French philosopher, mathematician, and writer René Descartes. But instead of having a race of intelligent machines fooling humans with a computer-generated world, he suggested an idea of an evil demon who is as clever and deceitful as he is powerful, who has directed his entire effort to misleading me. Put short, the evil demon presents a total illusion of the external world and a complete illusion of people's own bodies and senses. So for centuries, philosophers have been discussing what is the very essence behind the Matrix. Over time, this concept evolved into a thought experiment called Brain in a Vat, which, needless to say, is where the Matrix movie drew its inspiration. But to what extent does saying that we are, or not are in the Matrix, make sense? Putnam, an American philosopher, mathematician, and computer scientist, presented an interesting argument, and it goes like this. Imagine that Mars is inhabited by creatures like humans. Mars has no trees or vegetation, so a Martian has never seen a tree. Suppose by accident that some paint spills onto a piece of paper into a shape of a tree. A Martian stumbles across this accidental artwork, sees it, and forms a mental image. Now, the Martian's mental image is not the same representation of a tree in a way that an identical art would be for us. Why? Since the Martian has never seen a tree throughout its entire life, it can't form a proper representation of it. To it, the tree that we see might look like a peculiar combination of things that it has seen before. There is no causal chain from actual trees to the Martian's mental image. Likewise, any mental image that a brain in the Matrix has of a tree is not a representation of a tree because it too has never seen an actual tree. This also applies to words. When a brain in the Matrix says the word tree, it is not referring to the same thing that humans do when we say tree. It is referring to the electric signals and impulses given by the computer that cause the sense experience of trees and not real trees. Similarly, when a brain in the Matrix claims that I am a brain hooked up to a computer, it is neither referring to an actual brain nor an actual computer. It lacks contact with the real world, so it has no experience of what a real brain and a real computer could be. From this, it is easy to realize that the statement, I am a brain hooked up to a computer, doesn't make any sense. Since it is impossible to experience what a real world beyond the Matrix is like, its vocabulary cannot possibly refer to real objects or describe real situations. Therefore, the claim that I am a brain hooked up to a computer is false. If the claim that I am a brain hooked up to a computer is false, then it implies that I am not a brain hooked up to a computer. And if I am not a brain hooked up to a computer simulating the Matrix, I obviously do not live in the Matrix. This argument is mind-twisting, but it makes sense. If we have no experience of a reality outside the world we currently live in, then it's meaningless to talk about or make claims of that other reality. We wouldn't be able to describe anything. But before you begin to despair over the fact that there could be no superhuman bullet dodging, remember that this is only one argument. Physicists have recently been trying to verify whether we live in a simulated world by observing cosmic rays. If the maximum energy levels of cosmic rays arriving at Earth are specific, it suggests the idea that energy levels could be constrained and defined by rules of an underlying fundamental computer program or by an outside force. But for now, unless Neo and Morpheus shows up to tell us, it is safe to assume that we don't live in the Matrix. If you enjoyed this video or thought it was mind-blowing, subscribe to Click Philosophy for more awesome philosophy.